To the Wednesday meditation. The world seems to be in so much turmoil, and all we can do is go into peace and not be part of the turmoil. So the chant we're going to be doing is just guiding us into that oneness. And I want to mention that if you would like somebody prayed for, you can put their name on a piece of paper that's by the box and put it into the prayer box so that, we call out that name. Okay. It's call and response. And now I'll sing the first line, and then I'll kind of nod for you to respond. I let things be as they are. I let things be as they are. I let things be as they are. Things be as they are. I see only love. I see only love. Creator's love is in and through all. Creator's love is in and through all. Hiya, 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 hiya. Divine love, divine love, divine love, divine love. I see only with eyes of love. I see only with eyes of love. I am only peace. I am only peace. Peace, only peace. Peace, only peace. Ascended One is in and through all. Ascended One is in and through all. Divine love, divine love, peace in all, peace in all. Peace on earth and goodwill to all. Peace on earth and goodwill to all. I let things be as they are. I let things be as they are. I see love is in and through all. Creator's love is in and through all. Creator's love is in and through all. Creator's love is in and through all. I see only love. I see only love. Divine love, divine love, peace on earth and goodwill to all. 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 Divine love, divine love, divine love, divine love, divine love, divine love, peace on earth, peace on earth, peace on earth, peace on earth, peace on earth.
Good evening, everyone. When I first got involved on my spiritual journey, it was in New York City, and at the time I was an aspiring writer and did some acting. But when I got involved, I thought that my life in the world outside would get better, that I would be able to sell my play or get it produced, and other good things would happen because I was now getting involved with the divine or the presence of God. And that's a natural ideal that young people share when they get started on the spiritual journey. Quite often people, not just young people, but people of every age, when they start the spiritual journey, their lives aren't really happening very well. Things aren't going well for them in their lives. And so it's a natural phenomena to believe that the spiritual journey is all about making your life work beautifully, harmoniously, in every possible way in the outer world. And it seems that there is some relationship to that in a person's life when they first get started. But it doesn't play out continually or completely, because that is not the goal of spiritual practice or spiritual development or coming into the enlightened state of consciousness. Coming into the enlightened state of consciousness is entering a completely different realm of awareness in which your priorities have changed. And the joy and the peace and the love that you have in that realm are not necessarily contingent upon anything in the world. You have that whether your life in the world is going well or not going well. From an objective perspective, if people knew what you were experiencing, they'd say your life is always going well, because you no longer have that illusionary idea of life. Your interpretation of life has been transformed. So while you may have some benefits in the outer directed world, you come to a place in your spiritual practice where you recognize the majesty, the miracle, the joy, the love, the peace that comes from entering the enlightened level of awareness. And so there's a movement that takes place toward the enlightened level of awareness until at some place it is so fulfilling that it's no longer like a practice. We use the word practicing the presence, or we use the word, doing the spiritual practices. But at some point, it's not a practice at all. It doesn't take any conscious, vigil to do it. You naturally are doing it because it's what brings you joy, happiness, peace, and love. So with that said, until we get into that refined level of awareness, we do have to practice. And that practice has to do with mindfulness. It is necessary for us to be vigilant about our purpose and our true priority, which is divine consciousness. And the path that we have chosen, those of the people that attend Unity of Boulder, the path is the path of the karma yogi. In other words, the karma yogi works out his or her journey to the enlightened state of awareness while remaining in the world and the activities of the world. There are other paths, by the way. There's the path of renunciation, and there's the path of divine inspiration. There's all different types of things that people do. Some withdraw into an ashram or convent or a cave. There are things that work if you really just want to get on with entering this refined level of awareness. But karma yogis are those that remain in the world and work out their awakening process while carrying on the conditions and circumstances of their lives still in the world. But again, knowing this means that your mindfulness has to be that much more focused, because the world is a wily place, and it's very easy for your outer desires to easily become involved in the world and the things of the world with the old concept that if I could only get these things from the world, then I would have that happiness, that joy, that love. That's a misnomer. It's a complete illusion, because it has never happened for anyone, and it cannot happen for anyone in the future. But that doesn't help us. The world is very, very wily, in a sense that it's very easy to have our outer purpose pop up and become, once again, the priority for our consciousness. And when we do that, we eclipse the divine level, the divine priority. We cut it off. Once again chasing the world for the things of the world in the notion that it's going to actually make for my happiness, harmonious peace. So it's really incumbent upon us, who are karma yogis, to have a focused mindfulness, so that we don't allow ourselves. We will, in the beginning, we will transcend. We'll have problems. We'll fall for the things in the world for a while, here and there maybe, but we'll get back to mindfulness about what is truly valuable. You see, it seems to us that mindfulness is kind of a burden. Mindfulness is a burden to us at first, because it seems to interfere with the natural flow of thought and thinking things through and figuring things out. So we wonder, how could it be of value? Because if we're practicing mindfulness and it's a burden, because by being mindful, it interferes with the natural flow of thinking and figuring things out. But the whole point of mindfulness is to monitor the things that the mind embraces. In other words, the mind embraces good things and limited things, beautiful things and really terrible things, and takes in all of this stuff all the time, back and forth, and never finds freedom, and it doesn't find peace. So mindfulness actually is a monitor that keeps us on track for being involved in that which ultimately will become the divine awakening, the joy, peace, love of being enlightened and not taking in all of the limited ideas, all of the limited conditions and circumstances of the world. We have to transcend that. That's what we're doing on the spiritual journey. And Eckhart Tolle speaks to this in his new book, which is The Oneness with All Life. I'm reading from that, and it's from page 97 in that book. Your life has an inner purpose and an outer purpose. Inner purpose concerns being and is primary, and it is primary. Outer purpose concerns doing and is secondary. The true or primary purpose of your life cannot be found on the outer level. It does not concern what you do, but what you are. That is to say, your state of consciousness. Action, although necessary, is only a secondary factor in manifesting our eternal reality. The primary factor in creation is consciousness. No matter how active we are, how much effort we make, our state of consciousness creates our world. And if there is no change on the inner level, no amount of action will make any difference. We would only recreate modified versions of the state of the same world again and again, a world that is an eternal reflection of the ego. I'll read that again. Your life has an inner purpose and an outer purpose. Inner purpose concerns being and is primary. Outer purpose concerns doing and is secondary. The true or primary purpose of your life cannot be found on the outer level. It does not concern what you do, but what you are. That is to say, your state of consciousness. Action, although necessary, is only a secondary factor in manifesting our external reality. The primary factor in creation is consciousness. No matter how active we are, how much effort we make, our state of consciousness creates our world. And if there is no change on that inner level, no amount of action will make any difference. We would only recreate modified versions of the same world again and again, a world that is an external reflection of the ego. So Eckhart Tolle doesn't pull any punches. It's a very refined perspective of realization and awakening. The whole purpose of everything he writes only has to do with that. And the awakening is not a conceptual, intellectual experience. It is an aliveness that happens within us. We feel the presence so totally and completely, we literally vibrate with the joy of being alive. And that is not a conceptual thing. We may start with concepts, but in the end, we're operating in total oneness with the reality of this presence we call God. So, the Karma Yogi path requires a greater mindfulness. And mindfulness can be defined as remembering to be awake to your spiritual values in whatever you are doing. But that's the purpose of mindfulness. In other words, to remain awake in all that one is doing, so that you're not just being carried off in doing with this projected idea that you can get something going that's going to be of value in making your life work. You have to continue with the values of mindfulness. And by doing that, continuing with those values, we naturally become that which we value. And so the world and all the things of the world which used to hold our attention and capture our desires begins to diminish in importance. And our spiritual awareness becomes more valuable, and we become more alive in the spiritual understanding, so that we are not simply in the world and of the world, tossed to and fro by the changing tides and circumstances of the world. That's what happens to the unawakened mind. You know, when it's in a state of okayness, It means that the conditions and circumstances happen to line up for what the desire of that mind is. But that doesn't last very long, because then those conditions and circumstances no longer prevail. Something new is on the path and happening in our experience, and now we're not feeling really good about life or ourselves or anybody else. So we're tossed to and fro. You could say that the unenlightened mind, the unawakened awareness, is defined by what's happening outside of it. And so it simply is always looking to try to make things work, to improve the future. But what happens is ultimately it fails, because it doesn't have the control it needs to make those circumstances viable for any length of time. We suppose when we're young we could do that. We suppose that with enough money, with a really great education, with the ability to become either powerful or popular enough to control the people and conditions around us, we could then bring about peace and harmony and happiness. Doesn't happen. And so we are called out of that state of awareness. That's the initial state of unenlightenment. We're called out of that to find how to live effectively, beautifully, joyfully, powerfully, by not being so attached to that world outside, but living in a state of refined awareness in which we are blessing and being blessed. We are at peace and bestowing peace. We are in love because we see the love that's possible in the consciousness of every human being. At the core of every human being, there is the possibility for that human being to awaken and to come to that divine estate, which is the divine awareness of God. And this, of course, for quite a while, sounds impossible to the unenlightened awareness. An awareness that is somehow emotionally involved, like today. The unenlightened awareness is emotionally involved with the Ukraine situation. And that's just the way it is. So if that's the case, then pray for the Ukraine and send light and love and peace to the people of the Ukraine. And pray for a resolution for peace. But once you do that, detach from watching the ongoing events of that catastrophe. Detach from that. Get back to your mindfulness. And then you'll see how you can actually develop a mystical peace of mind, a joyful peace of mind. And that will ultimately play out so that it will be so fulfilling to have that joy and peace. It will no longer be a burden to be mindful. You'll naturally be mindful not to get caught up in the conditions and the circumstances of the outer directed world. Knowing that the world has always been a place for injustices to abound. Multitudes of unenlightened people do things that create inharmony, suffering, war. And that's just the way it always is. And the only way out is to take to task one's own awareness and become mindful of this higher level of awareness and enter into the refined, enlightened state that the masters have always shared. You know, Thich Nhat Hanh, who is possibly the strongest voice for mindfulness, that's his whole thing, about practicing mindfulness to bring you into that state of joy and peace and love that's available in the here and now, the same here and now that Eckhart Tolle speaks about. So that as you leave the world and the conditions and the circumstances of the world that's ever being broadcast on the televisions, radios, computers, and on and on and on, as you leave that, you come into this place of peace, of joy, of love, so that you become present, as Eckhart Tolle calls us to be, in the now moment. And you become aware of that which is on your path, moment to moment to moment. You're a karma yogi. You have things to do when you get up in the morning. If you have a family, you may have to be taking care of the children, getting them ready for school. If you're a working person, you may have to go to work as well. And just all the things that you do during the day on your path. You're not on the television listening to all that's going wrong with life. You're simply in the present moment, and you're completely in that moment because you're mindful that if you are in that moment, you are choosing to be one with whatever you are doing. You are doing it fully and completely. You're not half doing it. You're not half distracted. You're not half wanting to get back to the television. You're not half wanting to talk about the Ukraine with your friends. You're not doing any of that. You're doing what is before you to do. Right here, right now. And it may be something that you've been avoiding doing. You may have to clean the garage. You may have to fix the roof. You may have to figure out something that has to do with getting a job or finding a place to live. But that's what you're doing. That's on your path. That's not coming to you from some television, some talking head. Have you become aware of the fact, and you should become aware of this if you've been in the world a while, that the whole object of the talking heads on the news programs is to incite our adrenaline glands, to give us something to be concerned about and even angry about and pick a right or wrong position. That's not going to bring us into the happy life we want to live. So now let's take a look at an interesting illustration, which will stay with you probably longer than the concepts that are being shared here tonight. There's this illustration that comes from the Eastern spirituality. This man in India lives in a village, and he owns an elephant that he hires out to do work. Whenever there's construction taking place, they usually do need, because they don't have all the land-moving equipment that we do, they will usually hire an elephant to move a lot of the stuff that they have to get out of the way, or to pick things up and do them in a certain way. Now, the elephant is trained to do that. So this man hires his elephant out, but he has to take his elephant to the building sites. And quite often, he has to go through a very narrow village. And in that village, on both sides of the street, you have vendors selling vegetables. And when his elephant is going down the street in those narrow villages, it's always lifting with its trunk for a piece of vegetable and swallowing it and creating a delay, having to deal with the vendor. And then the elephant is picking something else up. To avoid that, he gives the elephant a cane to travel in his trunk. And so the elephant holds the cane in his trunk and that's his purpose, to hold on to that cane. So his trunk is no longer reaching for this over here or that over there. He simply walks through the village in a very straight line on his way to the place where he will be working. And that illustration has to do with mindfulness. If we give the mind an affirmation, an ideal, something to continually return to and have, it keeps the mind from grasping for the things of the world. Here and there, seeing this, oh, I can do that. No. It keeps the mind focused on its purpose. I'll give you a recent affirmation I'm using that comes from the Bible. When Jesus has the disciples go and get food, because there's like thousands of people that have been following him and listening to him, and they say they have to eat, and they're going in to try to buy food. When they return, they say to him, "Master, have you not eaten anything all day?" And Jesus says, "My food is to do the will of God." And that's a really beautiful affirmation, especially if you have an eating problem. My food is to do the will of God. There is something that'll make you feel so much better than eating food if you're into being present in the divine awareness or the will of God. And that is what we as karma yogis are doing. That is what we are doing to gain life abundant. And so it is. Tonight, once again, are you going to play something, or are you going to do the bowl? We'll listen to this beautiful crystal bowl. It gives you an opportunity to just sit straight and relaxed in the divine awareness of the present moment. And then, when we get to that place in the silence, you can use this particular ideal. There is only one everything. Only one calling to me to be awake and free. There is only one everything calling to me to be awake and free. So we'll use that in the silence. into this refined level of awareness, we invite all of those whose names have been submitted to our prayer list. As Norma calls each name, you can simply send the thought, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Jeremy, Gabriel Rodriguez, Lori Garcia, Judy Kennedy, Marisa, Sandy Spahn, Weston, Wendy Littlepage, Tracy, Christine Smock, Ann Rostello and family, John Stovall, Sandy Chamberlain, Jeremy, Gabrielle Rodriguez, Jay Spiro and neighbor, Kaya, Tim, Chris Gok, Ukraine, Elir Rios and father, Cesar Vichy, Boozy in Germany, Bob, Steve, Brian, Jamie, Ryan and Roxy, Brendan, Zoe Wilkie, Daksha, Brenda, Larry Morrison, all Ukraine soldiers and volunteers, all adults and children in Ukraine, guide our United States leaders at this time, President Zelensky, all Ukrainian refugees, all life forms affected by the bombing in Ukraine, the earth, water, air, all life on planet Earth. You can call out a name at this time if you would like to.
To visualize this refined level of awareness, this divine joy, peace, love, rising in the consciousness of everyone sharing the Boulder community with us. And we see this divine awareness rising in the consciousness of everyone sharing the state of Colorado with us. And this divine consciousness expanding to everyone sharing these United States of America with us. And this divine consciousness spreading to the consciousness of every human being in every country, in every culture, on every continent of the earth. Restoring that peace and love, that truth and joy of the presence of God, and true conscience to guide the purpose of human beings. And as we recognize this taking place throughout the earth, we pray the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. And God is love. To this we say, Amen. We will take an offering for unity now. I don't know if we have anybody out here except one person. Is there more than one person here? Yeah. There is? Okay, well, we'll take an offering. Who knows, we might have a billionaire out there. And to those of you online, you can scroll down to where it says donate. But everyone, just bring to mind that financial gift you'd like to make to Unity of Boulder, and let's bless it with this offering prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give.
In each decision I make, how will it affect the future and all life? In each decision I make, how will it affect the future and all life, and all life, and all life.
Join me now, please. We dedicate this tithe to the will and the work of the Spirit of truth, the Spirit available to each of us, the Spirit that joins all of us. We dedicate this tithe to the victory of the Spirit of truth worldwide. And so it is. Amen.
We do have tea and cookies in the bookstore if you would like to come and have conversation.
Oh, yes. And Sunday, yes, we'll have our 9 a.m. service and our 11 o'clock service with Cintisha doing the 11 o'clock. Thank you for showing up in this inclement weather. You must be very devoted. And I suspect you're one with me in sharing the joy of this pathway into the consciousness divine. Keep it up, and God bless.